In this video, I'm going to show you how to install Speedify on the YOLOBOX. What are those? Well, let's find out. Speedify is a software program that will let you bond multiple network connections into a single one to make it more reliable and faster. The YOLOBOX is an all-in-one portable live streaming kit with HDMI inputs, and it can even stream directly from its internet connection. When you put the two together, you get a pretty amazing combo. But before we get started, I do want to say a couple of things. Speedify gave me a free subscription to use in tutorials like these. And YOLOBOX also provided me the YOLOBOX I'm using in this video. But neither of them get any input into the contents of this video, and they don't get to review it before I post it. So before we jump into the how-to, I want to give some background on what network bonding is and why you might want to use it. With most devices that have an internet connection, it will be using only one of those connections at a time. So for example, your phone might have an LTE connection and a Wi-Fi connection, but most of the time it will be using only one of those. Usually the Wi-Fi takes priority if there is Wi-Fi, or it will fall back to the LTE. Similarly, your computer might have a Wi-Fi card and an Ethernet plug, but internet traffic will be going over only one of those at a time. The idea with network bonding is to take advantage of the fact that you have multiple paths to the internet and combine them all into a single connection that you can send even faster and more reliably. That way, if one of the connections drops out, you can still keep your stream going by using the other ones automatically. So when we're talking about live streaming using a bonded network connection, usually what we're trying to accomplish is either increasing the amount of available bandwidth so we can push more or higher quality streams, or we're talking about adding redundancies so that in case one of your LTE connections fails, it'll still keep going with the other connections available. So typically the options available to you for streaming using a bonded network connection are going to be relatively expensive devices that are dedicated network bonding devices. And that would be some of these kinds of things, and usually they'll either have multiple LTE modems in them, or you're expected to also connect external LTE modems to them. And then of course you'll have to have multiple LTE plans and a bunch of different SIM cards in order to actually have the data connections to all of them. You could also go the more DIY route and use a Raspberry Pi to create your own device and then give it a bunch of network connections like LTE modems or Wi-Fi. But when I heard about Speedify, I was really intrigued because Speedify is an app that you can run on your phone or your computer, and it will then bond all available network connections to that device. So when I have the Speedify app on my phone, and if I enable it, it will actually bond the LTE and the Wi-Fi signals, and my phone will see one network connection and it'll share and spread the load across both of them. Technically, Speedify is a VPN service, which is how this is working, and it will go and establish a connection to their service through all of your available internet connections, and then your traffic is routed through their server over to the destinations. So great, I can install it on my phone, but how does that help me with the YOLOBOX? Well, here's where it gets interesting. The YOLOBOX looks like a dedicated live streaming device. It's got a bunch of HDMI inputs on the back, and then it has an LTE modem and Wi-Fi built in, as well as an Ethernet port, actually. But in reality, the YOLOBOX is actually running a custom Android build, so it is actually an Android device under the hood. You would never know this during your normal use of the YOLOBOX because they've covered up all of the Android parts with the YOLOBOX interface, but under the hood, it is an Android device. And what that means is that we can install Android apps, such as Speedify for Android. So because the YOLOBOX can have up to 3 available internet connections, it's got the Ethernet port, Wi-Fi, and an LTE modem inside, that makes it a perfect candidate for running Speedify on it. So why might you want to install Speedify on the YOLOBOX? Well, continuing the theme of it being an all-in-one device, this is a great way to have this device doing the network bonding itself, since that's what's starting the stream anyway. You can give your YOLOBOX multiple internet connections, whether that's Wi-Fi from a venue you're at plus an LTE signal, or if you have Ethernet available, combine that with LTE, and bond them together into a single internet connection to make your streams faster and more reliable. So again, the YOLOBOX is actually an Android device under the hood. They've written custom software, which is the YOLOBOX software that's running on the Android device. The big difference is that there are no Google Play services. So there's no App Store and there's no ability to get to an app launcher or anything like that. So while it would appear at first that there's no way to install custom apps, there is a way around that, which is what I'm going to show you in this video. But before I show you the trick, I should also mention why you may not want to do this. This is definitely not officially supported by YOLOBOX. We're going to be taking advantage of a kind of loophole. We're not going to be hacking or anything, and there is no command line or anything, but we're definitely taking advantage of a loophole in the Android OS in order to actually install this. So definitely not supported, but there is always a factory reset button if something goes wrong. YOLOBOX has done a very good job of taking the Android OS and covering up all of the Android parts so that you would never have to know that it's Android underneath. And that's how they expect you to use the device, so we're definitely going to be going kind of around that. Also, please do not hold me responsible if something goes wrong. I am doing this to my own devices, so I'm going to show you that it does work, but I'm not responsible if something goes wrong along the way. So with all that out of the way, we're finally ready to start installing Speedify on the YOLOBOX. I'm going to walk you through the process of how to install Speedify on the YOLOBOX without using the Google Play Store since it doesn't exist on the YOLOBOX. Before we can install Speedify, we have to do a couple of things first in order to be able to get back to the app in order to configure it after we're done installing it. We are first going to install an app called JINA App Drawer. And that's basically a replacement launcher screen. So you know how normally you would have your launcher screen to choose the apps you're launching on your phone. This is a replacement for that, and we can install this app first. That'll then let us be able to launch either the YOLOBOX app or the Speedify app later. Before we can do that, I have to show you how to kind of break out of the shell of the YOLOBOX software. All right, so from the main account screen, tap on the YouTube icon as if you were going to go and add a new account. Tap on the Add Account button, and that's going to open up this browser. We're going to click Accept and Continue. Now, this isn't quite a real browser. We can't change the address bar. We have to first go up to the top right corner and press Open in Chrome. Now we're in a regular browser. This is the trick. We're going to try to get into our Google Drive by typing accounts.google. Would help if I typed it right. .com. And now go ahead and log in to the Google account that you're going to put the files in. So now that I'm logged into my Google account, this is where we have to get into Google Drive in the browser. So tap on the little grid of icons and then scroll down to Google Drive. And that should open it in the browser rather than trying to launch the Google Drive app, which doesn't exist. So now what you need to do is go and download the APK file for the JINA app drawer and put it into your Google Drive so that it'll show up in your YOLOBOX. Now I should mention there is always a risk of downloading apps that are not in the Google Play Store onto your phone. That is the reason there's a Google Play Store in the first place. Google wants to make sure that you're only getting apps from trusted sources that they have screened to make sure that you're not downloading viruses onto your phone. And that's why this process is kind of risky, because you're not going through the Google Play Store because the Google Play Store doesn't exist on the YOLOBOX. So you do want to make sure you're getting the APK files from a trusted source. Now I will leave a link down below to where I downloaded the APK files that I installed on mine. So feel free to find those through my links if you want, but also keep in mind, it's probably not a good idea to trust a random stranger on the internet like me either. So go ahead and download the APK files onto your computer. Once you have them in your downloads folder, go ahead and drag them into your Google Drive in the YOLOBOX folder. Then we can open this folder in Google Drive in the YOLOBOX and get the files that way. So now that I've got the JINA App Drawer APK in my Google Drive, I can click on it, click download. It's going to tell you can't scan it. That's fine. Download the file anyway. It'll ask for storage access. So yes, we're going to allow Chrome to access the storage. And we're going to put this into the downloads folder. Yes, do that. All right. Now we can go up to the three dots, click on downloads, and open this up. And it's going to prompt us to install the app. Let's go ahead and install it. And we'll open it. And here is the app drawer. We'll skip through the little welcome screen. Yes, great. Skip that. Get started. Okay, here we are. Now, again, there is no way to get back to this from the YOLOBOX app. So what we need to do first is go and configure the JINA app drawer to be always on top. They have this little drawer hotspot. And if you click on drawer everywhere, we need to go and first give it permission to show up everywhere. So we're going to go and change that setting. Allow to display over other apps, and then go back into it. And here it is down at the bottom. You can see it's kind of this little floating icon. And if we tap on that, it launches the app drawer over whatever app was already on the screen. So now, for example, if you tap on the YOLOLIVE app, we're back into the YOLOBOX software, but look down at the bottom of the screen, there's this little app drawer. So now you can tap on that to get back to your app launcher. So now we need to install the Speedify APK. So we're going to do the same process of downloading the APK and putting it into the Google Drive, and then we can download it from Google Drive into the YOLOBOX. So now we're going to go back into Chrome, close that tab, go back to our Google Drive here. And here's the Speedify APK, which I can now tap on and click download. And now when I open up Speedify from the downloads folder, it's going to ask if I want to install it, and I do. App installed. We can click done. And now we can get back to the app drawer. And sure enough, Speedify is installed. So at this point, we are now ready to configure Speedify to actually set up the network bonding in it. I've already signed up for an account on my desktop, so I'm going to sign into my account here. Speedify will prompt me to install its VPN on the device, and we're ready to go. So now, as I add more network connections to the YOLOBOX, it's going to go ahead and bond them together into a single connection. So let's go ahead and do that. Right now I'm only on Wi-Fi, so we see that we've only got Wi-Fi detected here. So I'm going to first plug in Ethernet. And sure enough, now Ethernet appears there. Now, if I plugged in my cell phone SIM card, we would also get the LTE connection. I'm not going to do that for this demo. I'm just going to demo on the Wi-Fi and Ethernet. So at this point, we can choose settings within Speedify, like bonding mode streaming, which is what they recommend for this because it's going to prioritize streaming traffic over everything else. And we'll just leave the rest as their defaults. It looks like it's found Seattle, the closest server to me, which makes sense. And we should be ready to go. One of the nice things about Speedify is you can also set daily and monthly data caps in case you are using LTE connections that are limited, and it'll keep track of how much data it's sent over that and then stop sending or slow it down after it hits that cap. So now that we're connected, Speedify is saying, what do we do next? Well, just leave the app running and it's going to do its job. Now that the lock icon shows that Speedify is running, that means it is connected, it's using 2 connections, and we can actually go and try out a live stream. So in order to get back to the YOLOBOX software, swipe the little app drawer, click on the YOLOLIVE software, and now we're back in the YOLOLIVE app. So we can launch our stream, and we can tap YouTube. I'll just stream to a private video for now. And we're ready to go. Let's give it a shot. Go live. We are streaming. And we'll let this run for a little bit, let it stream, and then we're going to go back into Speedify and check on the stats to see what it thinks about this. In the meantime, I can pull up the live stream on my computer and we can take a look. YouTube is showing us that the stream health is excellent. Everything's great. We are bonded over the Wi-Fi and Ethernet connection in my studio. So let's go ahead now and pop back into Speedify and see how this did. One thing to note, as I was testing this, I did notice that when you switch out of the YOLOBOX app, it will stop streaming. So make sure you don't try to go back into Speedify during a show. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this now. And then launch the app drawer, go back into Speedify, and let's see what Speedify thinks of the stream. Sure enough, it has been streaming. Usage is showing us the peak was 2.7 megabits, and it is not currently streaming anything, so we're not seeing any stats there. But there's a little history graph showing what it just did. And you can see that it was spreading out the traffic across both Wi-Fi and Ethernet. So there you have it. That is the step-by-step of how to install Speedify on your YOLOBOX. Now that you've got that JINA app drawer installed, you can also install other Android apps on your device as well. Keep in mind that you do have to have the YOLOBOX app in the foreground in order for the YOLOBOX app to be streaming to its destinations, but this does give you the option of installing other utilities on the device as well. I hope this video has been helpful. Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know how it works. I'm really curious to hear how it works out for you if you try it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.